we have a fabulous set of women here, and as we're discussing, they'll be telling us more about their lives. Quite a few I'm sure you've seen around the tech space, so they don't need much introduction. But I'll say this. When I was thinking about this panel, I was at the same time watching a Christopher Nolan movie, which occasionally happens. And it occurred to me one of my favorite aspects of that is how he likes to play with the perception of time. And just thinking about that, the experiences that you've had in your entrepreneurial journey, I've always been curious how your experiences in the past have impacted what you do now in your own businesses. So we'll start with Ketura, and I want to talk about just the start of most people's journey, the fundraising journey. And I would like to have an idea. Can you give me some backstory? Tell us a little bit about your organization, what you do, and how that journey has been.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Ketura Ovio. I am the founder and CEO of DUKKA. DUKKA provides digital technology that powers small businesses to manage their daily business operations and also accept any form of digital payments, however their customers choose to pay them. My background, it helps that I'm technical. So I'm a software engineer by training and experience. And I've always worked in startups, so also I guess that helps. Straight out of uni, I, decided to work for a Japanese startup. So I was employee number one. So you can imagine the immense, access, data, learning points for me. And I would say, I'll often say that we chose each other, right? I had the opportunity to work at Dimension Data. I was obsessed about data, still am. But I decided to work for a startup because, I knew that somewhere down the line I wanted to found my own thing. And when I went for the interview, they asked me, what my 5-year plan was, and I told them that I wanted to start a startup in 5 years. So, for me, I would love to join the organization because beyond just growing as an engineer, I also want to learn the business of things, right? How do you build a company? How do you build if you want to build this cute little business, that's great. You could also want to build a high-growth startup, and that's what it was for me. Like, how do you get there? Build something as, amazing. Like, how did these companies become so big? So for me, I think that single choice shaped my trajectory of like where I am today. So I guess those little decisions you make actually do impact your life. And that's how I ended up in startups. And I often joke that if you throw me in a corporate organization, I'll probably fail because all I know is madness, craziness, chaos, always like adrenaline junkie. So yeah, I guess that's how I got here. Fundraising journey. So when my first startup was in 2015. For those of you in here that long, you know that it was rough. It was pretty rough, right? Like there was very limited angel community. A lot of people didn't understand what angel investment, meant, what VC investment was. I remember speaking to an investor. At the time, I was trying to raise 150K. I was like, yeah, I'll give it to you for 70% of your business. And I was like, okay, do you want to just buy the company? Like, what are we doing, right? So it was, a lot of education had to happen. Everything was wrong in 2015. Everybody was figuring it out. Everybody was launching an something, e-commerce, Uber for this, Uber for bikes, Uber for, it was a lot of right? And in that moment, we were fortunate to raise, 2 grants, but then that was not enough. So most of the life of that startup, we had to bootstrap, ran for a total of 3 years. It was very hard to raise funds because, again, the angel community wasn't as, it's not as it is today. The VC community was very, 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 very limited capital. I mean, if you think today is limited, 2015 was rough. So, all of that, I would say learning the business of actually making money gives you a boost of confidence. And if you're a second, third, fourth founder, investors are more susceptible to invest in you. Because number one, you know how to fail. You've been through the rough. You know, you've been below 50 feet of crap, right? And you've risen again and you're going again, you know, you're going at it again. You must have, there's something about you, you know, there's something you've unlocked about your brain, of your mindset, for you to fail and say, you know what, I'm going to start again, I'm going to go again, another round. It's like you get punched in the face, you stand up and you're like, let's go, right? Like that's what startups are about. So when you've built a company before, whether or not it was successful, it helps you the second time because now you know what not to do. You know how to fail. You know, a lot of mistakes that you made in the past, you just avoid them because you know how the story ends. And, you know, it boosts your confidence in such a way that when you're talking about what you want to build, when you're speaking to investors, it's a better conversation, right? You're a little bit more experienced than somebody who just having the first go at it. And with fundraising, everything you hear is true. It's tough, especially when you're a solo founder. If you're a solo founder, you know, there are evident, you know, biases against women. I don't think we're new to that. So it's really tough, right? Because a lot of people who write checks don't look like us on this panel. So there are some reservations. What if she marries? She'll now get pregnant. What will happen to my investment? Maybe the business will pack up. Or maybe this one will fall in love and, you know, business will die. I mean, again, right? These are in some way legitimate questions that some of them may be, you know, bold enough to ask you. But it is what it is. Like, these are some of the challenges that you face. With fundraising, as a solo founder, it's especially, and if you're a solo founder out there, I always say, you know, finding a co-founder is like finding a life partner, right? You don't rush into it, hopefully. Don't rush into it. Take your time. And if you're unable to find a co-founder, then you need to build a support team around you. You need a team of advisors because you don't know it all. You have to humble yourself and know that you don't know what you're doing, but something is working. So for as long as it's working, you keep doubling down. So, you know, surround yourself with experts. Surround yourself with, you know, soundboards. Surround yourself with people who will tell you you are wrong. People who will fight with you, not people who will just say, oh, yeah, this is great, what you're building is amazing. No, well, thank you, but, like, can you critique it, right? I remember, you know, after my strides of founding and startup, when I was formating, you know, the early stage of DUKKA, I wrote 100 reasons why DUKKA would fail, right? So when investors are coming at me, I'm coming at you too, I'm just like, don't worry, I've thought about it. Yes, you know, thank you for your question. You know, it's like I've thought about the different ways it could fail, and I'm almost prepared. And even with having that list, there are still some blind spots, right? Because you still don't see it all, you still don't know it all. So yeah, that's my story. Happy to, you know, share more after the panel has a go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ketura. Now, Ife, I know Ketura mentioned that wasn't a corporate person, but you have a very interesting background. You've gone corporate to community building to your current venture. So could you please tell us a little bit about your background?
Okay, hi everyone. Can you guys hear me? Because I can hear a lot of noise in the background. Okay, fantastic. I'm Ife Durosinmi-Etti. I'm the founder of Herconomy. Herconomy is a financial technology platform that allows women to save and invest securely and also save as they spend on things that they need. So we have a lot of like merchants on the platform that you can get a lot of discounts on. So my story or my journey is very interesting because I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to like work in a multinational and just retire in that multinational and just make my money. But along the line, I think I've always been a hustler. So I've always had this hustler spirit to like want to do more. I started a small business at first called Parliamo Bambini. It was a kids furniture company. So my focus has always been, you know, women, my target audience pretty much has always been like women solving problems or giving solutions to women. But personally, growing up, I saw a lot of issues that women were facing. A lot of my aunties, people around me, that they were facing. A lot of them gave up their careers because they got married and stuff like that. And I just thought that that wasn't okay, because further down the line, I saw how this affected themselves, how it affected their lives. I saw some of their spouses who passed in the process, and they were literally just left alone. They didn't know what to do. Some of them had to start again. And I'll say a story that I remember particularly. I had an auntie who pretty much, got married very young, had a husband. She didn't even finish school. They got married. Both of them didn't really have much. And along the line, he began to make a lot of money. And what happened next? A lot of, domestic violence started. She started losing her mind. Long story short, her husband passed on at 40, and she was literally lost. His family came, took everything. They had nowhere to stay. And I remember I was 19 years old, and I advised her, I was like, okay, you have this small amount left, and we can contribute some money for you. Get a place in so-so and so area. I think it will be better for your children to grow up in this area as opposed to this particular area, just so that their mindset changes, even though it was like a one-bedroom apartment and all of that. Today, she's in her 50s. She sent her children to school. Her son is actually in tech. He's in the UK. They went to private schools here in Nigeria. She funded it. She started like a cement business, and she was able to use the funding from that to, send her children to school, build a house for herself, and now today, at least she's comfortable. And I saw another woman who her husband died, and she never could even do any business at all. So I just saw the impact, of, different women going through different things, and, women who legitimately just give up their careers. My mom, for example, also gave up her career. She's a lawyer, and my dad's a chemical engineer. And 17 years after she had my sister and I, she wanted to start a business, and she realized that she had no savings. And after doing a lot more research, I realized that this was peculiar across African women, which was what led me to start Herconomy. So my fundraising journey, just so that I don't talk too much, is very funny, because I first started out Herconomy as a community, which was previously called AGS Tribe. And our focus was mainly empowering women through access to grants and different opportunities like scholarships, jobs. And we also did a lot of capacity building workshops. So the community grew up to about 1,500 women in the first year. We made a lot of impact in the first 2-3 years that we had. A lot of people also saw the impact that we had made. So when it was time for us to pivot to financial services, after doing a lot more research that financial services was one of the top issues that women were facing, we had to go back to the community to fundraise. And I'm saying this because a lot of people feel like fundraising is a one jacket. You can actually create your own room if you're actually not getting money from the VCs that you want. So when we decided to fundraise, we wanted to raise $600,000, or at the time, I think it was $500,000. So we were speaking to like different VCs, and some of them would tell us, oh, there can never be another Facebook. I said, I'm not trying to build another Facebook. In fact, I know that different countries will even clamp down. We see all the issues that, Mark Zuckerberg is having, even though he has a lot of impact, or he's made a lot of impact globally. I know that nobody in the world is going to allow another, Facebook happen, because we already know all the issues that, he's having. So I started pitching, and they just didn't understand it. But I went back to the community who understood what we were offering, people who had already tasted the impact we had been making. In fact, one of our beneficiaries is even in this room here, Sheon, who is in front. I don't know if she's spoken already. She's also one of the beneficiaries of our community. So we've been able to give out grants to over 50 women to the tune of $100,000, and a lot of people who have gone ahead to even raise money through grants and other funding opportunities. So we went back there, and in 24 hours, we were able to raise $600,000 through the community and also through VC. So We Capital is on our cap table. Octera Capital is also on our cap table. So we're able to build that room. Today, we've grown significantly, and those investors who invested in the first round are also investing in our current seed round, which is currently ongoing, which just shows that we've been able to grow the business, and I'm just excited that we have people who have believed in what we're building, even though what we're building didn't seem like the normal, tech startup in its sense. Thank you.
No, that's amazing. And I remember seeing when you were fundraising, like from your community, it was really, really amazing to watch. And so we'll come to Oare. Oare, you're one of the money people to begin with. Yes. I remember when you were transitioning into your current venture, I was like, that's an interesting way to go. So please tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into your current venture.
Yeah, thanks, Isioma. So, well, you may not know it, but I've always been really passionate about youth employment. And so my journey is kind of different in the sense that when I started out with impact in mind, like social impact. So to your point, I started out my career working in human resources, worked in financial services, oil and gas companies, and then left to do an MBA. Returned back to Nigeria and joined a private equity firm. Worked there for 3.5 years. And I was making really good money. I had a dual role, so I was like managing relationships with government officials, but I was also in charge of funding local NGOs. And someday I just woke up and I said, you know what, I want to be an NGO myself. So I quit my job. Everyone thought I was crazy, but I felt it was the right time. And I decided to start an academy. And essentially what we're focusing on was recruiting blue-collar workers from government technical colleges, polytechnics. And our theory of change was, okay, these guys are coming in with technical skills, but they lack soft skills, you know, like communications, how to really relate with customers. If we can train them in these areas, then they can become well-rounded professionals to work within the industry, and we can start to change the narrative about blue-collar workers in Nigeria. Did that for about 5 years, built a community of about 2,000 workers. But what we started noticing was like the older members of our community were now clamoring not for full-time jobs or apprenticeship jobs, but more for like gig jobs. And so we started looking for an existing platform that we could sort of just funnel them to, and we didn't really find any that we felt would suffice. And that's really how LaborHack started, right? So I never really started out with the intention of creating a tech startup. And when LaborHack started, really, our vision is, you know, to certify blue-collar workers and connect them to jobs locally and internationally. And so we built a digital platform that helps us, you know, with that process. And it's been a very, very interesting journey so far. In terms of fundraising, I think one of the things I would say is starting out early, I was not able to articulate my vision in a way that resonated with VCs, right? Because I literally had to go through an entire journey of transitioning from like this not-for-profit space to now working in the VC space. So I was kind of like focusing on the wrong things, and it wasn't resonating. Luckily for me, maybe after about 2 years of all the rejections and bootstrapping, I actually met Ketura during that period because I did the Founder Institute program, and so that's where I kind of like incubated like the idea. I was privileged to meet an advisor, and literally the advisor got it, and he helped me revamp like my pitch document, and all of a sudden I started to see doors opening, right? Which was very interesting for me because all it took was a few things being tweaked to be able to resonate with the right audiences. And then I was also then able to connect with the right types of people, again, through this advisor. So one of the things that showed me is the importance of, yeah, your vision, and then also being able to articulate that vision, and then being able to find the right connections. Not every investor is for you. That's one thing I would say. You know, you have to find investors that align with your values, that align with what it is that you're trying to build. And so for people who are just starting out, I would even say that sometimes those rejections are a blessing, right? Because it saves a whole lot of hassle further down the line. And so it's important to find people that get it, people that are willing to put in the time and the resources to ensure that your vision comes to life. And I would say that today, what's different from then is having raised a pre-seed round, we're now raising a bridge round. It's the fact that, yes, I do have clarity on that vision. I am able to articulate it. But then I'm also now a lot more confident talking to investors about, you know, what it is that we're building and what our challenges are. I'm not shy anymore of like articulating our challenges because every startup has challenges. So in fact, any startup that, you know, appears to have zero challenges, that's almost like a red flag. And then, of course, it's also us being able to critique the investors and find out, okay, really, you're here, you seem interested in our business, but are you really the right person for us also, right? You can turn the tables around. What are they bringing in besides money, right? Are they bringing in connections? Are they bringing in resources that will be useful to help you grow? These are things that are very important to ask. And the more mature you get, I guess, in the startup business and this space, then you're able to be able to ask those sort of questions. And also because you're more aware of your challenges, you're also able to articulate your needs better to investors and find the right type of people to help you out to resolve those issues. So yeah, that's kind of like my journey in brief.
Nice, thank you so much. I love the point you made about you just spoke to the right person and he gave you the right advice. Because that's so important. I think a lot of us, we try to solve all the problems by ourselves. You can read all the blogs, but sometimes it just requires one interaction with the right person to give the right advice. So that's an amazing point. So we're running a little behind on time, but my area is leadership, so I have to ask a question around this. Your leadership journey. How you handled your organization, or how you handled just how you lead a team at the beginning versus now. How has that changed?
Me first? Okay. Yeah, so when I first started, I started out as a non-technical founder. I had no idea about technology, right? So it was really, it was challenging getting into the space, which is why I had to plug into incubator programs, because I kind of needed that structure to help me build and grow. So joining incubator programs, I was able to learn a bit about the tech space. And then one of the things I needed early on was to obviously get, you know, software engineers, people that would actually help us start to build the product. At the time, there was an organization that I worked, that chose us to sponsor, and they gave us 3 software engineers to work with us for 6 months for free. After which we were allowed to then pick who we wanted to stay on the team and pay them a salary. So after the period was over, we chose one of the engineers. And strangely enough, that engineer has stayed with us from the beginning. So it's been 3 years now, and he's now a senior software engineer in our company. When he started, it was more like an intern, but he's like really grown. And the next thing for me was finding a CTO, again, because I was not a technical founder. So I was, again, privileged to have someone within my network who actually, we went to high school together, but we shared similar values and a vision of what impact meant to us. And he bought into LaborHack, and he bought into the idea, came on board, and he was the one that essentially was in charge of, you know, managing our growing team of software engineers and building the product. So I didn't need to worry about that. So once I got that off the table, it was then a question of building like the operations like team. And for us at LaborHack, I would say the most important thing, because my leadership style is not to micromanage. I don't know how to micromanage. It's too stressful. So essentially for us, it's the emphasis is always on finding people who are subject matter experts in what they do, but are also able to wear like an entrepreneurial hat and strategize and think about ways to execute. And then, of course, together we brainstorm on the optimal way to do things, but it's always very useful to have that, particularly when you're starting out with a lean team. And so that's kind of like the team that we've nurtured from the beginning at LaborHack. And we have almost like a flat structure in the sense that anyone is open to give an opinion on anything. And this is also because, you know, they are the ones closest to the ground on different aspects of the business. So I cannot, as founder, say that I know everything. So their opinions are actually very valuable, and it's actually very encouraged, that, they speak up. And so I think that empowers them, also gives them a sense of autonomy and in terms of decision making and thinking and all that. So it's actually been really good.
Fantastic. Ife, I would love to hear about your own leadership journey, especially since yours is quite a journey.
Yeah, so my leadership journey, or people, I would say people on my leadership team, I think what is so beautiful about it is they were all part of the community even before they joined us. So they were pretty much volunteering at the beginning. So I never necessarily had to worry about, looking for people. These were people who already bought into the vision, because for us at Herconomy, if you're not passionate about the empowerment of women, you won't last, right? So you first have to buy into the vision. So when we started looking for people, so at the beginning when I first started, obviously I was bootstrapping, so I couldn't even afford to hire the kind of people that I wanted. So I got into a boot camp called Startup Bootcamp Accelerator Program, and they were able to help me identify some of the talents that I would actually need to join the team, especially because, like her, I was a non-technical founder, and I was also a solo founder. So I joined Startup Bootcamp. The first person that was recommended was our CTO at the time. So she joined the team, and then from there we started building our tech team. And then the next person who joined the team was our CFO, obviously because now we were pivoting from just a community to now adding financial services. So our CFO, and this was somebody who I had done some work for in the past. She was also a member of the community. I think I had done her CV or something, and she was like, oh, if you need any help, let me know. And I was like, okay, no problem. I'll help you. I'll let you know if I need any help any day. So before I knew it, different finance questions kept on coming up and all of that. And, we needed a focus, somebody who was actually focused on the finances, especially because of our pivot. And she was just there. So she would sit in on all the investor calls, anything we were having, she would come in, advise, and all of that. And at the beginning, she was like, she didn't even want any salary. So she joined, obviously volunteering and just supporting us as we started to grow, and she didn't take a salary for about a year or so. And then the next person was Viv, who is currently our COO. So we were at the time looking for a partnerships manager, and she was like, I will do it. I remember she sent me a DM, and I was like, no, I beg, I don't think I can afford you, because she came from core banking. And I was like, I can't afford you. She was like, see, Ife, it's not about the money, it's about the vision. And I was like, are you sure? That's what people say in the beginning, when you now come, you now start giving me bass. And at the time, the salary that we offered at the time was very small. She was like, no problem. She came in and, she did so much. I realized that she was the one actually holding the team accountable. Like, she would ask them, okay, what are you doing? Okay, show me, what are your KPIs? Do this, do that. And she was on them. And the way my office is kind of structured, my office is a bit, away from the team. So you imagine you enter the office and everybody's on their best behavior and all that. But once you enter into your own office, everybody's doing whatever they want to do and stuff. Even though they were meeting, a lot of the KPIs, we needed somebody who was overseeing it and ensuring that they were also doing it the right way. So she would come to meet me, she would say, okay, Faye, I think we should do this, I think we should do it like that. And I was like, okay, I think you would actually be a good COO and all of that. And then she stepped up to it, and, she's been so fantastic, since then. And I'm happy that I have people on the team who can speak as well as I do, or represent Herconomy, even though I'm not there. So yeah, my team has grown to them. I think today we're about 26 people on the team, pushing the narrative that women need to be empowered, especially financially empowered. Thank you.
That's amazing to have a very strong vision and purpose behind what you do, to inspire someone to come to work for you for how long without being paid. That's amazing. So Ketura, unfortunately we're running out of time, but I want to round up with you. Your leadership journey, how has it been between your origins and your current venture at DUKKA?
So I think I stand at a very interesting intersection where I'm technical and I'm also business, right? And for founders like me, you have to choose which side are you going to stay, right? Because, early days you would have to do a lot of things, a lot of heavy lifting, which I did. The first version of DUKKA, I built it, right? Then we raised some money. Then I put together a small team, right? But even before that, because I've built a startup before, because I've always been in startups, I knew, the nuances. And with DUKKA, I wanted to build something different. So, as soon as I knew that we were going to close our first family and friends round, the first person I spoke to was a HR consultant, right? I was just like, there needs to be structure. I don't want to shout. I want people to know what to do. Like, again, I don't micromanage. I don't know how to do it. I give a lot of trust to my people because, I have to trust you to do the right thing at every single point in time. It's literally one of our core values. So I spoke to her, and, together we put together, a plan, right? From, job descriptions to resumes to everything, literally. So, after doing that, then I hired an operations person, right? Then I hired, a designer and 2 engineers, a mobile and then a back end, right? Didn't need a business team. We don't have a product. What are you selling? Right? So hired the people needed to build the product. Once the product, was live, then I started building out the growth team, right? So again, in managing resources, in hiring people, you need to know when and how and who you should employ at what point in time. It all comes to managing resources. And a lot of what I feel founders are at a very interesting point where it's very rare, but you have the opportunity to pour a lot of yourself into a company. And that forms the DNA of the company, right? So people always say leadership comes from the top. It is true. Whoever you are as a leader, it will reflect in the people that you hire, right? So knowing when to hire is very key for me. When I saw that, handling both, because I was still doing a little bit of products, stopped coding, because then I had people who, could do that. When I saw that the business arm, the operations, they were, the people were growing and it was way too many people. I love operations, but I would rather somebody else do it. I think somebody else would be fantastic doing it. Then I started thinking about leadership, right? I hired a chief of staff, I hired a head of growth, right? And, in that process, transitioned my product designer into a product lead, right? Because for me, I'm obsessed and I'm fascinated with how Apple runs as a company. It's such a beautiful, amazing technology company. And, I always say the reason why Apple stands above, or for a very long time, because Microsoft has woken up now, Apple, was a challenger, Microsoft was just in the background, is because when it comes to product, Microsoft, the engineers will build something and give it to the designers and say, figure out the design around what we've built. But Apple will start with the designers, right? The designers are crazy. They're creative. They want to go to Mars in 1 second, right? They'll design and then tell the engineers you have to fix it. You have to figure it out. And when they bring it, they say, no, it's a little 5 pixels to the left. They give the engineers a tough time. But they understand delight, they understand user journey, they understand, perspective. So for me, always, I guess the point there is I knew, I could have hired a product manager, but I looked internally to say, who can I upgrade, right? You always have to grow. You have to grow within the organization. Who within the organization do I feel I can work more closely with, coach them, show them the ropes, and then just get out of their hair and let them figure it out, right? Because that's the kind of leader that I want to be. So for me, you as the founder or the founders, it would reflect a lot in how your people take care of each other and how they take care of your customers. How you treat them is how they'll treat your customers. Knowing when to hire, who to hire, knowing who to upskill within the organization. It's not always about we need to go and hire somebody else. Sometimes it's internally, right? And people are always looking for rooms to grow. The reason why great talent would leave an organization is because they've seen the ceiling. There's absolutely nothing else here for me. Then they leave. They're looking for a new challenge. Yeah. As a leader, you always have to recognize that. You have to plan. When I hire someone, I'm looking at what is your career path in DUKKA for the next 5 years, right? How can I help you achieve that? Because it's a win-win. You're trying to get to a goal, I'm trying to get to a goal, we're working together in unison to get you there, and in that process, we're both benefiting from the relationship. So you know, that's my style of leadership, and that's my advice I'll give to any founder, female or male, out there that is building something.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'm afraid we've run out of time, but I would like a round of applause for this amazing panel.